Hi, I'm Jessica Eaves Mathews, and today we're going to ask the question, is it safe to upload my book manuscript into an AI tool? And what happens to my intellectual property if I do? And this topic matters more than ever, so let's break it down clearly and practically. So first, the short answer. Yes, you can use generative AI tools to help with editing, reviewing, even revising your manuscript, but only if you take the right steps to protect your intellectual property. Some AI tools are safe, others not so much, and the difference comes down to one thing, and that is how they handle your data. So let's talk about the real IP risk. When you upload your manuscript, first of all, you have a copyright in anything that you've created that's an original creation under the US Copyright Act. You automatically have a copyright. So uploading your manuscript into a generative AI platform like OpenAI or Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, etc., you're not going to lose your copyright rights. That's not the issue. You still are going to own your work. But the real danger is what happens behind the scenes. Things like your manuscript is actually being stored on somebody else's server the minute you upload it. The other risk is that your writing, your manuscript, may actually be used to train that AI model. And there's even a real possibility because of that, that your content might directly or indirectly surface in response to other people's prompts, either your actual manuscript or portions of it or variations of it. The issue really comes down to the AI provider's data policies. And if they're vague or unclear to you, you've got to assume that your manuscript is not private and is not going to be protected, and maybe something that actually you're going to lose control of. So let's look at the tools themselves. Some are lower risk, especially if you use their provided privacy tools. So rule of thumb is free versions of generative AI platforms are generally not going to protect you. So the paid versions of what, like ChatGPT, paid versions of Claude, etc., Microsoft Copilot, in enterprise environments, those are going to give you more protections and more control over what happens to the information you put in a prompt, right? And so, as you know, if you've used generative AI, when you create a prompt, it's going to be a mix of you typing into the prompt some instruction, some information, and you may also link a document like a PDF or a Word file. And so sometimes authors will just put a Word file or a PDF of their book manuscript right into the prompt. The concern is that platform going to use what you're uploading into your prompt, both what you wrote in the prompt itself and any attached files, into their training? So you want to make sure you're interacting with a platform that gives you the ability to turn off the training so that your prompts are not used to train that AI model. And you want the ability to disable the conversation history of that AI platform. And on the other hand, riskier tools, as I mentioned, include the free AI tools. So browser extensions that promise to enhance your prompts are very dangerous, because I guarantee you they're using whatever you're putting in there to train their models. And website-based AI editors with no privacy statements or apps that don't explain where your data goes. You need to make sure that you are reviewing the terms of service or terms of use of any AI platform that you're using, and also their privacy policy. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but a good rule of thumb is if it's free, assume that you and what you're uploading is the product, and you don't ever want to be in that position, not with AI. So how do you protect your manuscript? Well, let's go step by step. Number one, you need to take the time to check the terms of service or terms of use. Websites have different names for it. The terms of service, terms of use, some might say terms of conditions, some might just have the word terms. Generally, you're going to find this in the footer, in a small link in the footer. You want to open that and read that document. That is actually a contract that governs your access to and use of the website and their AI service or product. You want to look for statements in the terms of service like, we do not train on your data. You want to look for words like, you retain ownership of your content. You want phrases like, your inputs or prompts will not be stored. If you don't see phrases that sound similar to this, that is a big red flag. Number two, you want to turn on the privacy option or toggle the training mode. So most AI platforms have a option within the settings that let you determine whether what you're uploading or inputting into your prompts will be used to train their AI models. And so you want to toggle that off always, 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 always. You do not want to help that company train their AI models. You want to turn that off. And unfortunately, with some of the free models, you can't do it. So that's why you need to pay generally, at least for the next level, pro or premium or whatever it is for that website, to have the ability to toggle that off. They could be called history off. They could be called do not train on my data. They could be called incognito mode. Ideally, if you have the money, enterprise privacy. So if you can get an enterprise version of an AI model, that is absolutely the safest thing to do. And the reason for that is the enterprise models delete your prompts immediately. They don't keep any history of your chats. And that is the gold standard. That's what you want ideally. Now, it can make it difficult if you're trying to build a repertoire or a library of prompts. But there's a risk in doing that because those prompts are saved. They may not be used to train the model, but they may be saved anyways. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But look for those things in the model you're using and make sure you have the ability to turn off the training mode, and make sure you do it before pasting or attaching any manuscript text or the manuscript itself. And number three, the other way you can protect yourself is to not upload the entire manuscript all at once. Instead, upload short excerpts, maybe a page or two. Now, that could be very cumbersome and time consuming if you have like a large book. But by doing it a section at a time, or asking for high level feedback based on a summary of the book, you're avoiding the risks that we've talked about. You almost never need to hand that AI platform your entire book. And the other thing is that you have to think about like why you're uploading it. What are you trying to get the AI platform to do? I know somebody recently that uploaded their manuscript thinking that they could ask the AI platform to just proofread it. But you need to understand what each AI platform is trained to do. They are trained to generally revise and amend anything that is shared with them. And so if you upload a manuscript expecting to get a word for word version of your manuscript back, but just proofread, you'll never get that. AI doesn't have a capability right now. Maybe it will in the future, but that's not something you're going to be able to get with an AI platform. So that's not a good reason to upload your manuscript. My recommendation is never upload the entire book. Stick to sections that you want feedback on and keep the entire manuscript safe and with you. And number four, whenever you're uploading anything into AI, the best rule of thumb is to remove identifying information. Take your name off of it, remove the title. If the book includes real people, if it's maybe a biography or an autobiography or some type of historical book, strip out those details before uploading it, which can be time consuming, and you have to weigh that against whether it's going to be useful or not to use the AI platform for the purpose that you're using it for. Here's the gold standard for privacy. Use an offline AI tool, something that runs entirely on your own computer with no cloud connection. One example is LM Studio. Local versions of Llama or Mistral, which is a French AI startup, those models can be used offline. So if you're working with highly sensitive material, that's the safest possible path. And don't forget, this is incredibly important. If you are under contract with a publisher, check your publishing agreement before you use AI at all. Some publishers are now using provisions in their publishing agreements that restrict the use of AI entirely, because they expect you to safeguard confidential and pre-publication material. And the act of uploading it into the AI platform may actually violate the terms of that publishing agreement. So you want to make sure you understand the terms of that agreement before you do anything with AI, because otherwise you may, especially if you have like an exclusivity clause in that agreement, you may violate it by publishing it, which is what you're doing when you upload it into a prompt. So when is it reasonable to use AI? There are lots of times. AI can help with line editing, developmental feedback, brainstorming titles and blurbs. It can help you tighten your writing style. And all of these tasks can be done safely as long as you use the right tool and you have it set up with the right settings. So when should you not upload your manuscript? I feel like we've talked about it a little bit, but here's a little bit more specific guidance. If it contains sensitive family history, legal allegations, interview content that is under an NDA or exclusivity agreement, anything involving confidential third party information, in those cases, I would definitely steer clear of cloud-based AI tools entirely. And one last thing I want to warn you of, something that happened earlier this fall in 2025. The New York Times sued OpenAI for copyright infringement. And as a part of the case, they asked the judge to impose what's called a litigation hold against OpenAI. And a litigation hold sounds complex, but it's not. It's basically saying to the company, you cannot destroy any records or documents that would be evidence, potentially relevant evidence in this case. And so a litigation hold is basically saying you have to maintain all of your current records. You can't delete or alter anything. You basically have to freeze all of those records until this litigation is resolved or until the court releases you from this litigation hold. What ended up happening is that OpenAI has privacy policy information that says how long they keep your prompts or your chat history. And OpenAI's default is 30 days. You have to look at that for every company. Again, that's under the privacy policy and also under the terms of service or terms of use. But OpenAI had a 30-day storage policy for everybody's chats. And then after 30 days, your prompts are supposed to be deleted. This has nothing to do with, by the way, the training model. So you may have toggled off, you may have said to OpenAI, I don't want you to train based on my inputs, and it's not doing that. It's still holding the chat history in its records for 30 days. So these are two separate issues. And with this litigation hold, what ended up happening is that even though under their privacy policy and their chat history storage policies, they were supposed to delete prompts after 30 days, they weren't allowed to do it under this court order. So they've had to hold all of these chat histories, prompt histories, for months now. And so your chat history could get held up with that type of storage issue, even though you are not training the AI model. What you shared with ChatGPT or other AI models could end up becoming accessible to other third parties that you might not want to have access to that information. The other thing you have to keep in mind is, and you may have seen this in the news, it is pretty common for particularly the big tech companies who have AI platforms as a part of what they're doing. They change their privacy policies and their terms of use all the time. And it's been a trend that these big tech companies over the last year have almost all of them now, moved from what was a privacy policy that gave you more control over what was shared with their platform, what wasn't. You toggled off the training option. Well, now they're saying, well, we're training with what you're uploading anyways. We're training with your content. And they'll give you a deadline. They'll say, we're implementing this on such and such a date. You have to go in and basically opt out or delete your content before they do that. So you have to understand that even when you're following, their guidelines and you feel comfortable, you've turned off the training mode, there is always a chance that what you've uploaded into AI will end up being used to train the model, because that company could at some point midstream change their terms and all of a sudden you're caught in their net. So never upload anything into any of these AI platforms that you don't want to have digested into their learning sets or shared with a court, because you just never know what's going to happen with any of these companies. So here's the bottom line. AI can be an incredible partner for authors, but treat it like sharing your manuscript with a stranger on the internet. Use it wisely and only when you have clear control over your privacy. And if you want help with this, if you want specific guidance, just schedule a call with me. We can chat and I can give you specific advice on how to protect your original content and your copyrights and make sure you're not breaching things like publishing agreements. Make sure that you are taking care of your creative endeavors properly in the realm and in the era of AI. Just give me a call and we can work on that together.